I'm back. It's a little late, but I thought I'd do a live just to talk about the joint session address 2 days ago. I guess that would technically be 3 days ago since it's midnight here. Let me uh, put out this incense. It is strong. Um, but I exercise, so I wanted to, make it a little less aromatic here, pungent, if you will. So all cards on the table. I didn't watch the entire joint session address, but I watched most of it and got most of the highlights. And just wondering what people thought about it. Um, I it went, I guess, the way I thought it was gonna go, it, except for like the theatrics on the Democratic Party side of Congress. The whole raising the paddles, saying false. That was so corny. Like that it, I gotta say, if I were if I were a card carrying member of the Democratic Party, I would be embarrassed that my elected leaders could do nothing but be childish and do these political theatrics. You had one dude, some old black buffoon, got kicked out of Congress. I mean, out of the session because he wanted to point his fucking cane and yell at the president while he's holding a speech. Like that is look, that is unprofessional, and it looked unbecoming of a congressional member. First of all, I'm tired of these old motherfuckers in office. Period. But that's a story for another day. But I will say this: if you are on the left or are a Democrat, and you were mad, 12 years ago when President Obama was doing his speech before Congress, and the guy got up and interrupted him saying, you lie, then you should be just as upset as this buffoon 2 days ago getting up and interrupting Trump because is it, it's disruptive, and this is not the UK here. No disrespect to my British viewers, but Congress is not like UK Parliament. Are we expect our leaders to be a little bit more stoic. So, um, hey Luke, what's up? So just wanted to see what people thought about that because not just that, but I mean the joint session address in general. Um, I saw this little black kid who was a cancer survivor who wanted to be a cop when he grows up. Um, despite how you feel about Trump, the people again on the Democratic side of the aisle should at least clap for the little boy. Yeah, Bellico says it was like reality TV. It really was. Like I said, this is what we expect of UK Parliament. Like when we watch what happens over in Britain with their Parliament sessions, we expect this sort of nonsense. Here, we expect people to be a little bit more grown. We expect the grown folks to to behave here in the U.S. Congress because what we do sets a standard for everyone else, regardless of whether other nations want to acknowledge it or not. So when they see us acting childish, it sets a bad tone for everyone else. So they were right to put that man out for his behavior. And like I said, when the little boy and on top of that, before the boy even came to the joint session address, I saw videos after the address showing that, because he has aspirations to be a police officer, people used to make fun of him and make fun of how his head looks, not knowing that the kid has undergone brain surgery. Bellico says Trump defended cancer research, and I like what he did for that kid, but defending cancer research, then bringing that kid out is not cool. So my yeah, and he made the kid an honorary agent of U.S. Secret Service. That kid was so elated. Um, and the day after, he even did an interview talking about how happy he was, you know, that he felt pride in himself. He could see his father's pride in him, and he said he felt proud of his father as well. So a lot of layers right there. By the way, one, that the kid has a father in his life. That can't be understated. Two is he aspires to be someone with some authority in his life, and pretty much controlling his life, which makes sense for someone undergoing what he's gone through, like being a cancer survivor. He's 13. He acts more mature than I did when I was 13. Um, and people were making fun of him. Like I saw black men making fun of him, and I'm like, seriously, y'all need to change y'all tampons for real. Like I don't. One of the things I tried to disagree with when it came to the MAGA base is the whole Trump derangement syndrome, but there is something to it. Now, in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, the fifth edition, they speak of certain things where, you have clinical disorders that are, um, professional categories, like for people who work in mental health. And then you have like sort of folk categories of mental health problems. If there is any, uh, if there's any uh, validity to the Trump derangement syndrome, it would fall under that folk category of mental disorders, because clearly there are some people who have just knee jerk reactions, just reflexive hatred for anything associated with that man, and it doesn't really make it's not very rational. Um, for one thing, a lot of things that Trump advocate for aren't specifically Trumpian things or MAGA things. These were things that the people on the left were for. And people don't believe me. And I was like, okay, you don't have to believe me. I never tell people to believe me just on the strength of my convictions, but rather on evidence. And the evidence is, go back to the speeches made during the 2008 Democratic primaries with Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. They were saying stuff that you hear Trump and MAGA saying, how you need to be, how they needed to be, um, how they talked about the immigration crisis back in 2008, how they talked about crime, how they talked about the economy and taxes. Uh, they how they talked about terrorism and stuff like that. These weren't Trumpian things, but when people are political ideologues, it's not real for them. It's not really about the policies. It's about them disliking the person, not the policies. Because if you like the policies, you'll like the policies regardless of who is advocating for them. Vice versa, if you just are someone into a cult of personality, you'll like whatever that person is doing or dislike whatever that person is doing if you dislike that person. Um, and I see this. Like Barack was very uh, Barack Obama was pretty severe when it came to immigration. Those immigration detention facilities on the border, those didn't start under Trump. Those existed before he came into office back in 2017. Might want to rewind that 8 years, you know? Um, and, just other stuff. Again, I didn't expect the Democratic side of the aisle to clap for most of what Trump says. That happens in those joint sessions addresses where usually only that party, the, 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 the party of the president, is the one who's cloudly clapping for stuff. And to be sure, some of the things that the Republicans were clapping for, some of them were against it too. It's just that they had to show unit. Had to show political unity. But a lot of stuff he was talking about, especially when it refers to Doge and getting rid of fraud, waste, and corruption, that affects the political right as well. So a lot of them are people may not understand, people may not realize it, but a lot of people on the Republican side aren't happy about Doge either. Trust me, a lot of them aren't. Fraud, waste, and corruption is not only on one side of the aisle; it's on both. But again, to show political unity, they'll act as if they are all for it. That's one thing you can say about the Republicans is that they will form together like Voltron. And what a lot of my I have to explain to some of my friends sometimes, most of who are liberal, left leaning, or Democrats, a lot of them think Republicans are just like one homogenous um, voting block, and they're not. There is a anyone who is on the right or Republican or right leaning can tell you there's a lot of diversity of opinions on the Republican side. You have a lot. Um, it goes all the way from like your moderates to your to the uh, extreme right wing, and there's a lot of stuff in between. Like people like it's partly because of the Democratic brainwashing that they've convinced everyone on the left that all Republicans are the same, and nothing could be further from the truth. There might be more. eh, There might be more diversity and opinion on the right than there is on the left, with on a lot of given issues, economic, social, and so forth. The difference is people on the political right don't eat their own like on the left. On the left, there's a purity test. Like if you if you want to be a if you want to be progressive, you have to check all the boxes, or they'll kick you out the club. um, and that's what's pushed a lot of people away. There are people who voted for Trump, such as myself, who were solidly progressives and on the left at one point. I was a Bernie supporter. Um, Joe Rogan was a Bernie supporter. I don't remember where Elon was, but Elon was loved by the left 12 years ago. It was people on the left buying up all those Teslas and loving everything SpaceX did. But because of his association now with Trump, they hate the man and burning and like trying to destroy people's cars because they bought a Tesla. That's again, that goes into showing some validity for the whole Trump derangement syndrome. I wish someone would try to destroy my car because you don't like the owner of the company because of his political affiliations. I will put 300 blackouts in you. I will put some 300 blackout hollow points in you if you try to destroy my car because you don't like the owner. I'm serious. I will put 300 blackout hollow points in someone trying to destroy my car because they don't like the person who owns the company. Um, or if I'm nice, I'll just give you a solid knee to the liver and let you stew in that. But yeah, that's that is insane. Or just several months ago when SpaceX did that historic landing of a rocket going back onto its I don't know what you call it, its landing module or platform, whatever. It was like perfect. It, it like I won't give it a perfect 10, but it was like a 9.9. Like and it was sad that only people on the right saw this monumental uh feat in space exploration and research. I'm a science nerd. I'm a space nerd. Like I damn near got a minor in astronomy while doing a triple major just because I was so interested in astronomy. Went to the I went to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum several times. Bought my little uh, astronaut ice cream and all that good stuff. I've just bought one of those space shuttles that I used to see at the Smithsonian when I was little. I bought one of those last year because I finally, since I haven't been to the museum in so long, I don't know if those same space shuttle models were still there. So I just bought one I found on eBay. There was exactly like the ones I used to see at the gift shop at the Air and Space Museum. But I got one of those. I bought the Einstein book on relativity that I remember being at the gift shop as well. I'm a huge space nerd. So anyone who's a space nerd, I couldn't see them not wanting to see this SpaceX rocket um landing. Like it was awesome, but because again of people's reflexive hatred for Trump, Republicans, the political right, you didn't even say it. You didn't even see it on a lot of mainstream media. You didn't even see it. Um, but let me get. I'm sorry. I missed a lot of you guys' comments. Let me get back to this. Sorry. Oh, defunding cancer research. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Um, bellicose. I had misread it too. I should have already auto corrected in my head when you said it. Jody, who says this little kid shouldn't be used by Trump or his parents. I don't clap for dancing bears either. Again, you're criticizing a kid, Jody. That shows you're fucking mentally ill. Again, I don't care how you feel about Trump, but the kid did nothing wrong. And on top of that, again, I'm going to evoke the fairness maximum. We're not going to criticize a president for what both sides do. If both sides do it, then criticize that process itself, but don't criticize the president and don't criticize the person that he brings to the joint session of Congress. It's that's low hanging fruit. You're gonna call the kid a dancing bear? Then suck a dick, Jody. Who get the fuck off my platform? Go suck a dick. Seriously, you probably already do because if you're on the left, that's probably what you're good at anyway. But seriously, you're gonna criticize a kid because he used the kid. The kid wanted to be there. If the kid didn't want to be there, he wouldn't have came. again, so evoking the fairness maximum. So when the Democrats do it, so when the Democrats do it, should it be right that Republicans should just insult women and children that a Democratic president invites to these joint sessions of Congress as well because you don't like because say the Republicans don't like Democrats, so should they make fun of kids too? You see how fucking stupid that is. Bellico says yes, it does make sense, but ultimately control leads us all. Bellico says Hillary is racist. Um, so again, just like I can't say Trump is racist, I'm gonna be fair and say I don't know Hillary is racist. What I will say is she said some unsavory stuff in the past, right? So she called black boys back in the '90s super predators. We all a lot of us remember that from 1994, right? Which is at the time uh, when Jim Crow Joe Biden um, co-wrote the 1994 crime bill that led to mass incarceration of black men across America, right? Um, what I what I find more reprehensible than her calling black male teenagers super predators is that before she was a Democrat, she was a Republican, and not only was she a Republican, she stumped for Barry Goldwater. She was a Barry Goldwater Republican back in her college days. But guess what? Guess what Bernie Sanders was doing in his college days? He was marching with Dr. King. So he always had it right. So like I said, if it I would have if Bernie was still running, I would have probably voted for him. I disagree now with a lot of his positions than I did say 10 years ago. But he's an honorable man and he didn't have to figure it out along the way like other people like Hillary or Biden. Bellico says Obama deported the most people in presidential history. Yeah, as far as I know, so far he's still the deporter in chief. Like he's still done the most. What's up, Agatha? I haven't seen you in a while. She says hello, sir. Just checking in for a bit. Thank you. Bellico says Doge is really useless. I don't think it is. Like they're saving a lot of money. Um, like like some people said, even if it would have been boring, Trump should have read off every single thing that Doge has saved money on so far. Like they've literally saved like hundreds of billions of dollars already. I don't find them useless. What what I think might be happening though is Doge seems to be stepping on the. It, I think Doge might be stepping on the coattails of the OIG of the Officer of Inspector General. Like a lot of what Doge is doing, I think is what the OIG, the Inspector General, is supposed to be doing, right? Um, but I won't say what they're doing is useless. Now I can see if someone just disagrees with what they're doing. That's fine. But I don't think what they're doing is useless. I think it's very useful. If you can find if if their stated goal, I think, is to find $1 trillion in fraud, waste, and corruption. I don't find that useless at all. Not in this bureaucracy. There is, I mean, let's be honest, guys. How many of us, and if not us, how many people do? How many of us know someone who who thinks that the federal government is bloated and there's a lot of incompetent people who work in the federal government who until recently um, didn't care about being um, I'm trying to phrase this in a in a nice way. Yeah, there is a impression by many people that people in working in the federal government are maybe lazy or incompetent, but enjoy job security, so it doesn't matter. Not saying that's true, by the way, but there is that impression. And if you don't hold it, you probably know someone who does. So just showing that there is an overall impression of that, particularly in the Washington Beltway, where most of these jobs are concentrated. Because says Doge is amateur. Well, so Doge isn't an actual federal agency. Basically, they are. Uh, so Elon Musk is working basically as an advisor to the president. And oh, by the way, he's not getting paid for what he's doing. In case anyone didn't know that, like he's not getting paid to do this. Um, and finding fraud, waste, and corruption, I don't think is useless. Again, there's a lot of fraud, waste, and corruption in the federal government. And I'm interested whether Ron Paul will actually take up Elon Musk Elon Musk offer to audit the Defense Department. Elon Musk said he wants Ron Paul, basically the godfather of the Libertarian Party, to go in and audit the Defense Department, which they need. Ever since the Defense Department has been subject to audits, they failed every single one. So these defense contractors, mm-hmm, it's time to go after them next. Like I said, I visited NASA in Florida. I went to and to check out the retired spacecraft. Was an excellent experience. Oh no, what? Don't time out Obi Kenobi Moonlit. That's actually a close friend of mine. This he's just snarky like I am. He's a that's one of my closest friends in real life. Agnes says I like Bernie is also Melissa's audit the Federal Reserve. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. It wasn't the Defense Department. It was the Federal Reserve. Sorry guys, as I was. Um, Elon wants Ron Paul to audit the Federal Reserve. Sorry about that. Yes, and I completely agree with that. The Federal Reserve is on some bullshit. Like my father used to speak so highly of Alan Greenspan. I think Alan Greenspan is full of shit if he's still alive. Um, but yeah, so nice. Sorry guys, I'm putting on my reading glasses here. He said that's why when the people you want to stay get timed out. No offense to your mods, your job can be pretty hard. Yeah, that's some I guess an honest mistake. But yeah, so and where was I? So yeah, so Peter, yeah, Peter Boghossian, the philosopher who now does his what he calls street epistemology because he refused to work for academia after what happened to him in his previous professorship. I don't know if he had a tenure position or not, but he resigned it after what they did to him at the I forgot what university, but I don't want to call the university out by name anyway because I don't want to do that. But he said, Trump should just read off like even if it was like a really dry ordeal, just 10 minutes of reading off all the money that Doge has saved taxpayers and said, by the way, guys, this is all taxpayer money that we saved for you. I agree. Like again, I guarantee this. I guarantee this, guys. If Doge was an idea of Obama, the left would have loved it. Because who wouldn't want to look, regardless of what side you fall on, who wouldn't want to get rid of fraud, waste, and corruption in the federal government? Both, if you ask both, if you take out, if you remove like the political party and person in office, and you ask people, do we need to get rid of fraud, waste, and corruption in the federal government? There will be near universal agreement on both political sides on this. But again, this reflexive hatred towards anything Trump, he can, I, I'll tell you this right now. Trump could do every single thing that the left wants, and they would still hate him for it just because he did it. I'm telling you, like there was sort of that very thing going, and let's be fair. Again, I want to be fair. There was some of that sort of reflexive hatred towards Obama when he was in office too. Even when he was doing stuff that the right was for, some of them just reflexively hated him for it. But I think it is worse with Trump. I like because here's the difference. So when when we when we unalived uh, um, Osama bin Laden, even the right clap. They was like, "Bravo, Mr. President." They was like, "We don't like." They were like blunt. They was like, "We don't really like this president, but he deserves all accolades for getting Osama." Like the right was like, they gave him his props. I don't see people. I don't think the I don't think the Democrats would do the same for Trump. If he did something that the left loved, I don't think they would give him. I still don't think they would give him his props for it. A few people would. A few people would, but just because of their reflexive hatred, I think they would still not give him his props. At least the right gave Obama his props when he took down Osama bin Laden. And let's be frank here, he didn't take them down. Uh, our special forces took him down. And more than likely, if he was in Pakistan, there was an exchange of intel, meaning they been knew that man where he was. It's just that Pakistan finally gave our military the go ahead to say, all right, you guys go ahead and get him. But I'm not going to take that away from those folks in special operations. They did a hell of a job. Whether this was an exchange of intel and they and it was pretty much go ahead and get them anyway, which is more likely the case. But that's me speculating from being a former E4 mafia. If you don't know what the E4 mafia is, ask one of your military buddies. But anyway, uh, at least they gave him his props on that. Um, but I just don't see the Democrats doing the same thing for Trump. If he, like I said, if he pushed something that was on the left's like agenda, like on their top list of priorities, I still don't think they would give him his props. Some would, but most wouldn't. I mean, what would be like restoring, Roe v. Wade, and turn it and making it a law. Um, what else? I don't know, something with like LGHD TV rights, doing something to solidify that for them, or or allowing, I don't know, just it is a bevy of things you could think of, sort of priorities on the left that I guarantee if he pushed every single one of those things on the agenda, they still wouldn't give him his props for it because that's how hyper partisan people are. Nice says, I feel like political parties nowadays feel like propaganda tools sometimes, like back in the 2010s and earlier, it was difficult. Uh, Melissa says, people forget we trained and funded them and left our hand me downs for them to use. The fart left is vicious. Not all dumbs, just the extremes. They make themselves look bad. Speaking of trained and funded them, so apparently Trump is firing all the generals who were responsible for the debacle of 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 the Afghanistan pullout, saying you left all them, you left those, you left all our stuff behind. You allowed up some troops to you left you allowed some of our troops to get unalived. We have to say unalived on social media nowadays, guys. I'm not trying to be politically correct. I don't, if anything, you guys know I'm manifestly against being politically correct, but I don't want to get demonetized. But yeah, so Trump is firing those generals that he finds responsible for the debacle with the pullout in Afghanistan. Um, but yeah, a lot of political, a lot of blowback in the Middle East and other regions comes from um, fucked up foreign policy where we'll be previously for someone, and then when we have a difference in it, when our administrations change hands, then that new one isn't for them, like sort of like what's happened with Zelensky. So the previous administration basically gave him anything he wanted, and there was little accountability for what he actually did with that money, $350 billion of American taxpayer money. And now we calling him in on it, like, you gotta give us up something, player. It's like, and he's like, but no, no, no. The last president, he didn't make me do anything. Sorry, you gonna have to give it up. You gonna have to give something up, Shane. You gonna have to give something up. I ain't the last guy. You gonna have to give us a taste, or Putin gonna take it all. But you gonna have to give us up. You gonna have to give up. Trump was putting out his pimp hand, and you had to give up a little something. You had to give up a little bit, player. Mm. Zelensky like, no, no. He's like, hey, is she Vajash? Is she Vajash? Or it's gonna be Putin. Putin gonna take it all. He gonna take it all. I just want a little taste. I just need to get my beak wet. But hey, the difference in administration means difference in foreign policy. But sometimes that's come to bite us in the ass, like in Latin America, where we'll fund and put in place certain leaders who are corrupt as fuck, but they're against communism. Or if there is a a leader, or will help depose a leader who's sympathetic to communism and the Soviets, um, by funding certain groups in that area. The whole Reagan Iran Contra affair, mm, mm, bad phlegm, but yeah, um, that stuff happens. Or look at look at Rambo 3. Rambo 3 literally teaches you what happened with Afghanistan. In Rambo 3, when he was in Afghanistan after Colonel Trout got back with him, found him in Thailand fighting with Filipinos Kali sticks. I don't know why he was fighting with Filipino Kali sticks in Thailand. Well, actually, I do. They actually do use sticks in traditional Thai martial arts called Muay Baran. There's a similar use of the double sticks like in Kali and Eskrima. But he finds the man in Thailand. He says, "I need you to go in to do one last mission." He goes in to help these freedom fighters fight against the Soviets. Guess who those guess who those Afghani freedom fighters were? The Taliban. Yes, they were the Taliban. Back when the Soviets had control of Afghanistan, we were training and funding the Taliban to fight against them. Similar thing in Iraq. Who you think put Hussein in power? Iran has been our nemesis for a long time. So when Iran and Iraq were battling it out, who did we fund and support to fight it out with Iran, Hussein in Iraq. So nice, nice. Sorry, different. My bad. No problem. Melissa says Biden did that with his senile, but nice says nah, man. Your opinion is your opinion. That's how it should be. Melissa says is Obi untimed out. Tell him my bad. I can't see him on. He might have left. Um, he'll message me later though. Melissa says I feel they treating Trump like Nixon and Reagan, who both did better than the Clintons and Obamas. Mm, wait, did Nixon and Reagan do? Well, Reagan was a phenomenal president. Not that I agree with everything he did, but he, I think Reagan, whether you dislike Reagan or not, he sort of set the template for the modern president, or for the both the late 20th, early and late 20th and early 21st century. He sort of set the template, sort of as I would say FDR sort of set the template for the early 20th century. Reagan set it for the late 20th, early 21st century. Nixon, he's a mixed bag. When says Contra, what? Never heard of it. Up, up, down, down, left, up, select start. A, B, select start, sorry. Like says with the minerals deal, I think it's fair that Zelensky gets a little security funds just in case Russia breaks the deal for the 26th time. I hope they come to a good agreement. See, he keeps saying that Russia is breaking the deal. It was neither one of them were agreeing. I remember 3 years ago they were close to an agreement back then, and at the time it was. And people they talked about this a few days ago as well, um, with what happened, in the White House. But back when Russia and Ukraine had came close to a deal 3 years ago, it was the UK and the United States that said don't take a deal. That that seemed wrong-headed, because where was the end goal? It seemed like the Biden administration didn't really have a strong end goal. It seemed their only thing they were interested in was having the Ukraine fight it out with Russia just to weaken them. But that's a horrible end goal. I mean, so you're willing to let those people, you'll send over billions of taxpayer money. They could go to much better uses here to fund a proxy war for those people to keep dying, just just for the sake of uh, geopolitical strategy. And the end goal to weaken in Russia is what afterwards. It, that didn't make sense. It really that shit really didn't make sense. Agus says, I think we could agree to disagree all respectfully without the name calling. Did wait, who was name calling? Are you talking about calling by and see now? Um, that's not even name calling. He literally has dementia. So, or I guess the nice way would be calling it dementia or cognitive decline. But senile, it was the used to be the former term for dementia, if that's what you're talking about. Nice, nice says this is going back 10 years ago to present. Biden did nothing. When you say did nothing, do you mean he did nothing good or he did nothing bad? I'm not sure what you mean by did nothing. One says USA, Australia, and Canada offered to grant asylum to the ethnic Chinese refugees, and Thailand scuffed them off and forced them back to their country. Bad move, Thailand. All right, I think we're off topic because now I don't know what we're talking about. One says nice Biden is on the spectrum, literally a zombie. E- no, well, Biden isn't. When you say spectrum, he's not autistic if that's what you mean. But no, he is suffering cognitive decline. You can see, like we seen this man's cognitive decline in real time from the time he was in office as vice president. And if you really want to take it there, from the time he was still a senator, right? Um, and you know went into went into the private sector, then came back into office, um, and became vice president under Obama. Like he was fiery at the time, and he used to have a lot of little verbal gaffes, if you will. But you could tell he was like, you know, mentally he was still rather mentally acute. But we seen that slippage in real time, and the bad thing is it was more of it hidden from us than we even knew how bad it was. Like insiders knew that it was much worse than what people knew, and the only people calling out was on the right. So of course they just labeled it as a conspiracy theory on the right and gaslit the entire country, saying there was nothing wrong with this man when clearly it was. Like it was it reminds me when Reagan was in office, like he was suffering dementia, and Nancy Reagan was doing a lot of the, the politicking behind the scenes. Nice says he literally didn't do shit. He added weird effing deals that he was given, weird ass gun laws. He did nothing. He was just a person who could sign a paper. He did nothing. Okay, so yeah, that's why I was confused when you said nothing. I didn't know whether you meant he did nothing bad or nothing good. So you meant he did nothing good. Gotcha. Oh, I mean, that's debatable, right? Now, I so everyone was mad at the Afghanistan pullout because it was done so poorly, but I agree with the pullout. One thing I gave him one thing I gave him credit for is even though they fucked up the Afghanistan pullout, I was he was the only one who actually did it. Trump said he was going to do it, then he was advised by his advisors told him don't do it. Obama was going to wanted to pull out of Afghanistan. His advisors told him not to do it. Biden was the only one that said fuck it, we're going to do it. So, but yes, I think they definitely messed. I think it could have been done much better. And if I give Zelensky any sort of credit, is the fact that he didn't cut and run like the Afghanistan president did. He as soon as uh, America told them we were stepping out, he fled to Europe. Of course, your country is going to fold if the leader of your country flees the country. Why would anyone else want to fight it out? Like, no, unless someone stepped up and said, "All right, f this, we're gonna push back. We got the tools, we got the talent." Okay, they decided to be Zetamore here, and someone stepped up and said, "Look, until we have a duly elected leader, I'm the leader. We're fighting this shit out. They not taking us back. We held this down for 20 years. Let's go." No one stepped up to do that in Afghanistan. And like I said, a year or so ago, they had 20 look, they had 20 years to get their shit together. From 2001 to 2021, we held them down with President Hamid Karzai and everyone else. Afghanistan was a stable country only because we were there. If after 20 years, the only reason your country can be stable is that American military is blood, sweat, and tears is keeping your country stable, that's not our job. That's not our job. Like if we literally gotta keep your country stable, it might as well be ours. Like they should have just signed over Afghanistan to us if we're the only ones keeping it a democratic country. And and this is a tangent, but it also shows why feminism is bullshit. Like women were getting ahead, going to getting their education, going to college, going to graduate school, earning doctorates and law degrees, running medical facilities, schools, and all sorts of stuff during that 20 years of stability while the American military spent their blood there. But as soon as American might left, you saw that feminism didn't mean shit. Like feminism can only work if men are there to defend it, which is a huge flaw in feminism. That's an aside. I just wanted to point that out because I'm like that. Amazing man. Oh hey, she's hello. Hope you're having a good night. Thank you. I am. I'll do better when I go to sleep. Although I'm thinking of some sort of late night snack. I can some little cheap meal I can have before I go to bed. Nice says he did it in the worst way possible though. No, I completely agree with you, Nice. I don't know if it's nice or nice, but I agree with you. He it was he effed it up. Like I said, that's why Trump has fired or is firing all the generals he finds responsible for the Afghanistan pullout. Because like I said, the only thing I will give him credit for is that he actually did pull out Afghanistan, and like the previous two presidents said they were going to do it, but didn't have the balls to do it because their advisors told them not to. I'm pretty sure Biden had the same people in his ear telling him not to do so as well, but he was like, "Nope, I'm going to do it." So I give him that credit, but yeah, they effed it up horribly. They just better made the Taliban better armed. Nice as if he did it in a proper way, I would have gave them props. That's fair. That's fair. Amazing man says give thumbs up to this amazing smart guy. I love him. Thank you. I appreciate it. Agatha's got to go now. Have a meeting tomorrow. Good night. Good night, Agatha. Um, yeah, I'll probably stay up a few more minutes myself. But getting back to the joint session address, like I said, the fact that the Democratic aisle wouldn't clap for that little boy, I found that pretty reprehensible, and that's why I took that guy to task earlier in my chat room, who said who basically called the kid a dancing bear. Like, really, you gonna call a kid a dancing bear just because you hate Trump? Like, that's messed up. If I if it was a president I hated or a political party in office that I disliked, luckily I'm an independent, so whichever party this is in office doesn't matter to me. To me, it matters the policies. But whatever. Um, Assuming I was on one side or the other, um, and I dislike the president and the party that he represents, but he brings on some people to these to these presidential addresses. I wouldn't insult those people. Like a kid, you gonna insult a kid? He did nothing wrong. The kid is literally a cancer survivor who just wants to be a police officer and felt delighted that the president of the United States made him an honorary member of the U.S. Secret Service. Like if this was on the reverse side of the aisle, they would have been happy, and I'm pretty sure the Republicans would have had more decorum than to like just sit down and not clap for a little kid. Like that's crazy. Nice says, I always wonder if we have more parties in Congress or just no parties at all. I wonder if that would incentivize to vote on a person, not vote by party. So you mean like a multi-party Congress? I mean, so that happens in other countries, like Australia and the UK and other places where they have multi-party parliaments and multi-party Congress. Um, there, so there are some strengths to the 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 two-party system. At least that's what I was taught when I took political science back in college. But I'm more dubious of that now, and I think for all the strengths of the two-party system, I think that the two-party system creates a false a, a, it creates this false dilemma within the country on politics. Like you have to be this or you have to be that. You have to be a Whig or a Tory. I and that is a weakness of the two party system, that it leads to this hyper partisanship, and that everything is either for or against, and you become reflexively against something or reflexively for something just because of your political tribalism. Would a multi party system alleviate that? It would. It would alleviate some of that hyper partisanship, but it also has its own problems. Like here, there's always trade offs. This is something I always say to my friends on certain stuff. Like there's always trade offs. So there's trade offs with the multi party system as well. Nice as will give up the three vote system where your first vote goes in, and if he or she doesn't take it, your your second vote goes in. Well, you could do part. Well, it's different ways you could vote. Where you could have what is it called? Vote. I can't remember the term for it. He said without Congress, though, I think it would work great. I think you meant Congress, not construction. Without a multi-party system, I mean, here's the thing. Even though we do have a two-party system, we do have some people in office who are libertarians and who are independents. Bernie, um, now Bernie, he politics with the Democrats, but he's actually an independent. Now, when he ran for president, he ran as a Democrat, but as a senator, he's actually an independent. And there's a few libertarians in party, like Rand Paul is a libertarian. His father, who I think who's retired, Ron Paul was a libertarian, whom I mentioned earlier. So like the godfather of the Libertarian Party. Um, there's a there's a few Green Party members, but most people are either Republican or Democrat. But a lot the libertarians usually the most of the libertarians in Congress um, they usually politic with the Republicans, whereas the Green Party members um, politic with the Democrats, and the independents. It depends on whether they're independent liberal, a liberal independent, or conservative independent. Yes, I've been smoking a little, no problem. Um, but yeah, so another thing that was awesome was he sent that kid to West Point Academy. Like the kid was saying that he wanted, like he was already like this dude was already pretty high. This kid was already pretty high speed, saying he wanted to go to West Point Academy and all this sort of stuff. And I knew something was coming. Pause. No, did he? But I knew something was cooking when the president was talking about, and this kid wants to go to West Point. I was like, well, if the president just said it, he's gonna they're gonna let him in. He was like, and I had to let him know. He said, I'm letting him know now that he's been accepted by the U.S. Military Academy, aka West Point, in upstate New York. I was like, I knew it. I knew it. I was like, that's awesome. So, that's people don't know. It's hard to get into a military academy. You have to get like a senate. You have to get like a senate, uh, a letter of recommendation by either your senator or the president. He got one from the president himself, and that was pretty dope. But of course, couldn't give him. It was a few. There was a few Democrats that clapped, but most of them again didn't clap. And again, the political theatrics that the Democrats did with those little paddles, that just looked it made them look weak. Like if you're gonna disagree, just fine, disagree in silence. But those little paddles, that just made them look weak. And the theatrics is what turns people off and makes people political apathetic. But yeah, that was awesome too, seeing that kid get um get sent to West Point. That's pretty dope. Because the military academies are the equivalent of the Ivy Leagues. If anything, I would say it's almost the Ivy Leagues are more prestigious just because they're the Ivy Leagues, but it's actually harder to get into the military academies because you have to get like a senator's letter of recommendation to go to these, or or again either a president or a senator's like approval to get into one of these military academies. Like my friend, I remember he got into the Naval Academy when I was in high school, so that was dope. He got uh, a, he got some some senator or Congress members letter letter of recommendation to get into the Naval Academy. One of my cousins, he got into, I believe, the Naval Academy. I was disappointed that he left because of his stupid ass family, which is my dumbass uncle and his dumbass wife. They, guilt tripped him into coming back homes to help them through their issues. This is why I say fuck family, fuck black families, because they're just. I'm not going to even go down that road today. That's a topic for another day. But he was at the Naval Academy, I believe, and he didn't give up. I think he still graduated from college, but he ended up going like transferring to like Coppin State or something like that, a low tier historically black college, Coppin University or Coppin State University, I think. Um, Instead of finishing his education at Naval Academy because of his dumbass family. To graduate from Naval Academy would have been amazing. And in Naval Academy, you have a selection of stuff. Once you graduate from Naval Academy, you can accept a commission as a naval officer, a marine officer, or the merchant marines. So you can try. So you have those three choices: commission officer and the merchant marines, which is probably dope because the merchant marines doesn't fight, or the navy, like I said, or the navy, or the marines. So that'd have been dope. But to have to, but to but to resign uh, as a student from the Naval Academy to go to some little low tier HBCU, yeah, that's kind of whack to me. And again, that was because of his family. So my I'm not gonna put that all out there, but yeah, my family is my family is good at crushing people's dreams. But anyway, um, yeah, man. So that was awesome. What else happened during the way Trump started the very joint session address was just dope. He just came in and said, "America is back." Like, I'm pretty sure there was like some hardcore Americans just no Diddy, but Dick Hard, just like yeah, America. I mean, look, I even said this when he was like, I was like, yo, the boys are back in town. That's exactly how I felt when he had addressed the joint sessions address. You had him, and you had you had Trump there, JD Vance right there, and House Speaker. I always forget his name. Forgot his name, and the and the senator majority leader. So it did feel like the boys were back in town, right? Um, oh, and Musk actually, he wore a suit with a tie for the affair. So I know people were criticizing him, saying he kept showing up in the White House in the in a t-shirt and a hat. But again, for all those people criticizing him, they forget he uh, he's an advisor to the president working for free. He's not getting paid for what he's doing. So if someone was working for free for me, they can wherever the hell they want as well. So I'm just saying. And like I said, I know people don't agree with Doge, but again, their mission now, how well they carry out this mission is up for debate. But their stated mission to get rid of fraud, waste, and corruption within the federal government, I'm completely for that. And like I said, if this was an initiative by either Hillary, by Biden, or Obama, the left would have loved it. Because if you take out, again, if you take out partisanship, and you take out the name of the actual president, and you ask most Americans, are they for getting rid of fraud, waste, and corruption in the federal government? It would be damn near universal agreement, because people on both sides agree that there is a lot of fraud, waste, and corruption in the federal government. So I think most people would be for that if it wasn't under Trump. Okay. Now, is Doge um is everything is Doge doing is correct? I can't say. So far, I'm honestly for it, but I understand how some of my friends who work in federal government don't like what's going on. They are fearing for their. I have friends literally fearing for their jobs right now, and I feel for them. But I also know this is how I felt in the private sector. Like working in sales, your job was never secure. Like your job was only secure for how well you did your job that day in sales. So the only thing I can say for folks in the federal government is now you know how a lot of us felt in the private sector, where we have people in the private sector have no job security. So they're starting to realize the sort of stress that people in the private sector face every day, not knowing whether you'll have a job day to day. Especially like I said, if you work in something as intense as like sales. Now in sales, you get paid a lot. Like a junior salesperson might make 250,000 a year, but trust me, the stress that comes along with that job, it's worth every like your every penny is like you paid for it with gray hairs. So I didn't I didn't even make that much um in my stint in sales. Like when I was making maybe like around 32,000 a year at one point, and my job was always like up for grabs. Like, am I going to have a job by the end of this week? Next week? I don't know. Like, there was a lot of turnover. And there was parts of the year where the company shrank, and then parts of the times of the year where it expanded depending on the contracts that we got. So you had to make yourself indispensable to the companies, that you wouldn't be one of those people let go when they had to like contract a little bit. So I understand. So it there so and this is where I think some people in the federal government don't get. There's a little. I'm going to be honest. There's a little bit of Schadenfreude amongst some people, and right now, and amongst working adults, saying, okay, now people in federal government see what we've been dealing with for the past 10 years. Like, I'm not saying I'm not saying it's right, but yeah, there's some Schaden. Look, there is some Schadenfreude out there. Schadenfreude mean taking delight in other people's misery, right? But yeah, there is some Schadenfreude out there towards federal employees. Like, look, we we don't have job security. We don't like we don't even have pensions like you guys in the government. We got to fund our own retirement through 401k plans and IRAs. Like only people in government and military still get pensions, and they're trying to um reduce those. Like if you're in the military, a lot of times they don't want you to do your full 25 years. You might want to do 25 years. They try and push you out at 15 so you don't collect your full TSP. But in any case, like again, I'm not gonna beat up on federal employees because I would I would say most of them are doing good work, but but that doesn't remove the fact that there is still a lot of fraud, waste, and corruption in the federal government that can be eliminated. And if they can get rid of $1 trillion of fraud, waste, and corruption, and give every taxpayer a $5,000 check, I'm all for it. I don't care what Representative Jasmine Crockett says. $5,000 is a lot to the average American. It may not be a lot to her, but that just shows, hey, she's making a lot of money. Which, okay, good for you, you privileged bee. But yeah, fuck Jasmine Crockett. For the average American, $5 will will give them a little bit of income security for that month. They can pay their bills that month. They can pay off that mortgage or that rent. They can get groceries. They can have gas in their tank. They can buy some eggs. $5,000. They can finally buy some eggs, not just the little broken ones over in the corner. They can get the good grade A chicken eggs. They don't have to get the they don't have to get the grade C platypus eggs. but uh, but no, seriously, like uh, trying to put like uh, Representative Jasmine Crockett saying that $5,000. She's so full of. Then she has the nerve to be in office doing dance videos and shit, doing a little stupid um, Megan Thee Stallion tongue out of her mouth, like you're a fucking elected member of Congress. Why are you acting ratchet? This is why people don't take some. This is what black professionals have to fight against the perception that we're unprofessional and that we're incompetent because of people like her. Like you are too goddamn grown to be sitting there doing this little Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion bullshit while you're in office, making dance videos, and then telling telling the American citizens that $5,000 ain't you don't need it because that's not a lot of money. Maybe not to you. Fine, give yours to your constituents. Matter of fact, no. How about you out of your own money, since 5,000 isn't a lot of money, take $5,000 for every one of your constituents in your district. Representative Jasmine Crockett, dumb bitch. Anyway, um, so yeah, um, that's how that's how I feel about that. But yeah, anyway, so just I don't know. So, what other things do you guys have? I don't know about the joint session address. I I was tempted to actually go live when it was on 3 days ago, but I'm still not savvy with the fair use sort of thing, and I don't want any copyright strikes. 3 strikes, you're out. I don't have any, by the way, and I've had copyright claims on like music while my lives were going, but those aren't strikes. Strikes are like bad. Like you get 3 of those, you're done as a YouTube partner. Meaning meaning you will not be monetized anymore, or they might just completely take your platform down. And even if you come back with on a different, you make up different channels in the future, none of those other channels can get monetized. So I don't know the whole fair use thing, but I know this a lot of people who say fair use aren't doing it correctly. So I haven't crossed that path yet. That's also why I haven't done any what do you call it, screen I forgot what you call it, but because my wife and I last year we want to do a a thing where I react. We were going to do a reaction video with me reacting to some Taylor Swift music since she's a huge Swifty fan. But again, I don't I don't know how that works yet, so that's why we haven't done it yet. But I still do plan on doing it because I know she wants to have me listen to some music. You said you support who? If you just came into this live stream asking me that, I'm not going to answer that because I've literally been on for an hour and 15 minutes, and I have tons of videos on my channel. I'm not going to keep doing that. We're not going to do that because I know because I'm pretty sure it's disingenuous. It's either disingenuous or you're an idiot. One of the two, or both. I don't care which. I'm not answering. So with that, I'm about to go. Unless, like I said, anyone has any comments about the joint session address or whatever, and we can talk about it in another stream as well. Because, like I said, I originally was going to go live with it 3 days ago, but thought better of it just because I didn't know what the copywriting could have been with that. And then I wasn't going to talk about it at all because I was trying to get away from politics for the last few months. If people hadn't noticed who've been watching my stuff for several months now or several years now, um, for the past few months, I've been trying to get away from politics because yeah, div- it's divisive, and some of the stuff I was talking about wasn't getting monetized. So, especially if I spoke about a particular country or a particular thing or two. So, but like I said, unless anyone else had any comments about the joint session address or something related to that, I'm gonna probably call it a night. See if I can still think of a cheat meal or not meal snack. Uh, Unfortunately, I don't have any fruit snacks right now. Oh, one of my Cliff bars. That's gonna be my cheat meal. I guess it's not really a cheat meal, but yeah, I think I'm gonna eat one of my Cliff bars. That'll work. Which one I want to eat though? Hmm. Do I want the almond? Do I want the chocolate chip? We'll see. Well, that's it, guys. Unless anyone else has any comments. Like I said, because it would have been so much. Because I mean, there's a lot to cover from the joint session address. Because it was a pretty long one. Pause. No diddy. So, but most of them are kind of dry. I think the only thing that kept this address more exciting than others was just the pure vitriol of one side for that man, which kept it entertaining. And the fact that he was willing to call them out on it, which was funny as hell too. He would just point directly at them. It was hilarious. Like that's literally the only thing keeping politics interesting is just the the level of just uh political theatrics going on. All right, guys, I'll take it easy. I don't see any other comments coming. However, if you did have a comment, um, you can leave it in my comment section once this is uploaded. If people are watching this on replay, watching this broadcast on replay, you can leave it in the comment section as well. Also, check out some of my other content. Have some videos, some shorts. Usually, I stay up to date with little YouTube shorts talking about whatever. So that's it. All right, guys, take it easy.